Thank you. Thank you to our MCs, and please keep the cheesy dad jokes coming. I love it. It's amazing. I keep a list of them for my son who's 9. Hi, good morning. Day 2. Thank you, Japanese delegation, for your enthusiasm. I love it. Can I get a woohoo from the crowd? Day 2. Y'all need to stand up again, like we did yesterday. Maybe? No? Okay, all right. Well, you are not going to want to miss this panel. I am so honored to be up here to moderate this conversation with 3 incredible talents. And today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about legacy, which I think is something that all of us think about in sports. But in particular, we have an incredible opportunity to learn from Federico, from Sunny, and from Adam how they're really approaching legacy as sustainability in global events. So we all know that global events they're exciting. There are memories that are made. There are friendships that are forged. And these are really the events of a lifetime, right, Adam? Our 2-time Olympian sitting over here to my right. These athletes bring back with them memories of a game that really holds something deep inside of them that is so unique and different from the rest of us who are sitting at home like I am watching it, or maybe not sitting at home watching it like Federico, who was a professional volleyball player and played in not 1, but 3 international leagues. But these athletes do so much to prepare for these games, to prepare for the World Cup, as do those who are responsible for the sustainability excellence that these games, these events bring on a global stage. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is how does one prepare for sustainability on the global stage? I'm sure there's some pressure that comes both from the inside as well as from the outside that helps to challenge you, that helps to set expectations. And then there is the challenge of carrying it out. As a former marathon runner, I would say, then you hit mile 20, and you realize how hard it is to get to the very end. So really honored to be able to guide this conversation today and see what we all take away from it in your own work that you do within your own venues and the own games that you are putting on, the events that you're putting on as well. Because I think what you'll find with these 3 is that we've got some lessons learned on the global stage that are really applicable at the local level. So what I'd love to do is, Sunny, I'd love to start with you. So Director of Sustainability at LA 28. And my understanding, and I may be the last one to know this, and I'm so excited, I learn so much when I do these panels, is that LA 28 has made a commitment to no new permanent structures. Can I get a round of applause for that? That's amazing. This is the first Olympics and Paralympics that has made that commitment.
Yep.
And I can imagine that when you don't have the burden of having to manage construction projects, which always finish on time, right, Japan? All construction projects always finish on time in the Olympics, but they don't. When you don't have that burden of having to worry about the construction, I just wonder what kind of conversations and space does that open up for you to have more constructive, more thoughtful, more intentional conversations with the community? Can you talk a little bit about the benefit of not having to worry about construction timelines?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. And just for folks maybe who aren't as familiar with LA 28, so we are the organizing committee hosting the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games. A little bit of background context that will help answer that question is, interestingly enough, we actually put a bid in 2017 for the 2024 Games. And history was made in 2017 when the IOC awarded 2 games at one time. So Paris was awarded 2024, LA was awarded 2028. I think everyone in our organization is very happy we got the extra time because it's never enough time. But one of the main reasons why Los Angeles was awarded the games 11 years in advance, which has never been done before, is because of the way we embedded sustainability and fiscal responsibility in our bid commitment, and really designing and leading with the games that's going to fit the Southern California region, the LA region, and not the other way around. And with that commitment was leading by saying we're not going to build any new permanent infrastructures. Los Angeles is home to, I think, 11 sports teams, two collegiate powerhouses and iconic world famous venues that are ready to host the games today. Because of that, we are able to host the games for a third time, and we'll be hosting the Paralympics for the first time, and we will be utilizing all of the existing permanent and temporary infrastructure. So flash forward to where we are now in our process. We've entered the timeline of what organizing committees usually have to start planning and hosting the games, and this is when they are focused on the constructing and the building, things like the athlete village, and for us, our athlete village is going to be UCLA. And because we don't have to worry about constructing such big infrastructure and buildings, we've been able to really shift our energy and our focus to impact and human legacy. We want our games to be focused on people, which is our fans, our athletes, and the local community. And when we talk about designing a game that fits Los Angeles and not the other way around, that also accounts for getting into the community now and understanding the work that's already being done when we're thinking about sustainability, environmental justice, climate resilience, because there's so many amazing organizations that are boots on the ground, grassroots, who have been leading this work for years. And so our role is not to come into the community and tell them what we think needs to be done, but really to take this time to listen and learn and take the extra time that we have to bring them to the table and have them be part of the strategy building from the onset and not, 2 years before the games.
Yeah, and I would imagine, too, really teach you about what matters most to them and how best to integrate that. I'm going to switch over to Federico for a second and talk about World Cup 2026 is coming to North America. Is it?
I didn't know.
Oh, it's not? Oh, congratulations. Did you know? Did I spill the beans? Oh my gosh, World Cup 2026 is coming to North America. Woo! I'm excited. I'm very excited about this. 16 host cities. That's a lot of host cities.
3 countries.
And 3 countries. 3 countries and 16 host cities. So when you think about, so collaboration is key for LA 28. I would imagine, too, that there's quite a bit of collaboration that could happen across those 16 host cities around sustainability. How do you approach the sustainability strategy and integrating sustainability into World Cup 2026? Can you talk a little bit about your process and where collaboration really fits into it, or where you want it to really fit into it across those cities?
Well, thanks for your question, and good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to acknowledge, actually, GSA and the invitation that we got. It's an honor, and I'm humbled by the opportunity of talking in this panel and sharing it with esteemed colleagues here. And also thank you, Eileen, for your leadership, Scott as well for the leadership that he has shown so far, and the rest of the board, Roger, and your team. We are very, of course, happy, and it's a big challenge for us to come to North America with the World Cup 2026. But I think it is the first time that we're coming to the World Cup. This is going to be my 6th World Cup as head of sustainability at FIFA. And we have never had a previous World Cup where we came to a country or a set of countries that had a platform like GSA already established. So talking sustainability in the world of sports in the host country of a World Cup has never been so easy as it is now. Now, that doesn't mean that the job is going to be easy. It's going to be extremely challenging because, as you said, collaboration is not necessarily, it's not something that we could do, it's something we must do. There's no way that we as FIFA, no matter how powerful the organization is, how many resources we have, how much time we have to deliver the World Cup, could do a good job to actually address all the issues that in the field of sustainability. And when we're talking about sustainability, it's the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of 16 cities and 3 countries. So we definitely need, and this is the approach that we're taking, not just to deliver a sustainability strategy for the event, which is very comprehensive and is based on the experience that we have from previous World Cups. We have been having comprehensive sustainability strategies since the World Cup in Brazil 2014. But we need as well the host cities and the stadiums that are key elements of this World Cup to play their part. So it's going to be a collaborative approach, I believe, in terms of Of course, there are requirements and they need to fulfill them in order for us to deliver our own sustainability strategy. But at the same time, we want to give the cities a space for them to develop their own environmental plans and human rights plans in order to leverage the World Cup coming to their territories to address their own sustainability agenda. So we won't be too prescriptive about or trying to find a common denominator that is applicable to all 16 cities. Every city is in a different space. Every city has a different priorities, different agendas. But we want to offer the possibility of the World Cup serving as a catalyst for those cities and the stadiums to address the issues that are important to them in the field of sustainability. So we hope this is a great opportunity. It comes along with a big responsibility and a challenging 3 years ahead of us. It's not much time. I start getting worried when it is -6 years before the World Cup. And we had more time definitely for the previous one where we actually 12 years before it was awarded to Qatar, and then we worked like for 8 years to deliver it. And now here we are like already 3 years before the start of a World Cup, and still a lot of work to do. But as I said, I think the fact that we're coming to a region which has a lot of understanding of what sustainability means in the world of sports, and this thanks to the Green Sports Alliance and the work that you have done over the last decade, or more than a decade, it's going to help us immensely.
Amazing. I can't wait to see what comes out of it. And Adam, you're kind of sitting in the confluence of these two gigantic events, LA 28 and World Cup 2026. And I was really taken, I really took to heart what you said in our prep calls about just the athlete perspective. So the games are huge, right? The World Cup LA 28, it's huge for the city, it's huge for the venues, it's huge for the organizing bodies themselves. And then there's the athletes that come into these events and the athletes that go home with these experiences and these memories and these friendships. And whether or not you win or you lose, right? You were there and there was a moment. So is there a way to take kind of an athlete perspective when planning for LA 28, World Cup 2026, and what do you think would change from a sustainability standpoint by doing that?
Yeah, so as Dune mentioned earlier, I did compete in 2 Olympic Games. The first thing that people always want to know is what Olympics and what sports. So I competed in Athens and Beijing Olympics 2004 and 2008 in the sport of track cycling on the velodrome, if you're familiar with the sport. I think I'll start by saying that much of the goals and objectives of the sustainability community are really aligned with that of an athlete first and high performance driven operational plan. The same conditions that facilitate world-class performances from a competition standpoint and from a training standpoint are the same conditions that we all here in this room and as positive stewards of the environment are hoping to achieve. And what we're looking to improve. I look back at my experiences, and it was a little bit, I haven't thought about it in this way. I'm decent at arithmetic, but basic arithmetic, but we have Paris coming up in 1 year. That will be 20 years from my first Olympic Games, and that kind of blew me away for a minute. But if we fast forward, 4 years later into Beijing, and we remember the conditions that were of concern for the athletes going into the games, and highlighted by the media during that time, it was air quality, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I do think it's worthy to speak of the efforts made in advance of the games to improve the air quality. But the reality of it is that getting off the plane, settling into Olympic Village, those conditions were visible. They were felt physically. And, as athletes, we're really taught and conditioned to focus on the things that we can control, especially in these moments where you have a ton of pressure and you have trained the better part of 4 years for one moment, one opportunity, and you can't let your mind be clouded with things that are out of your control. Mm-hmm. And while you make every effort to do that, when these conditions are again visible and felt physically, it's impossible to not let that enter your consciousness as an athlete. So I think if we fast forward now to LA 28, to the united bid with FIFA and think about the true opportunities in hand to take this as an athlete-forward approach for the Olympics, Paralympics, and think about what we can drive with and lead with. It's really, there's a ton of room, and as you mentioned earlier, with the no new building, it leaves room to have thoughtful planning around this, and LA28 has already done a great job of engaging athletes early for their input. They have a wonderful athlete fellowship program that brings in Olympians and Paralympians, not just American athletes from all around the world, and gives them the opportunity to work in different divisions of LA28 to provide that feedback. And I think that's where we can have really a lot of impact.
I think that's amazing. I mean, I think, thinking about today in North America, just here alone, Detroit, Michigan has some of the worst air quality in the world because of the Canadian fires. There are so many conditions that we can't anticipate right now. Right? We have no idea what the temperatures are going to be for World Cup 2026 across those 16 cities. We have no idea what the air pollution is going to be like, right? So I would imagine it's very difficult to anticipate what those situations could be. And Federico, I want to bring up something that you and I talked about too. You talked in our pre-planning about the need to be stubborn enough, like a professional athlete, like be stubborn enough to be able to achieve your baseline, your bottom line that you want to achieve in a sustainability framework for these games, for the World Cup. What is your bottom line that you're working to achieve, and how are you going to be stubborn enough to get it done?
Yeah, to your previous comment, I think that we know what temperatures are going to be and where air quality is going to be. Temperatures are going to be higher, and air quality is going to be worse. Climate change has already been set in motion. No matter how much we do now, and we have to do a lot, and we have to be radical about tackling climate change, and we are, as sports people and in the sports world, have a role to play in that fight. Those changes have already been set in motion. We're going to see them happening, and it's going to get worse going forward for the decades. So we need to be prepared for that, and we need to make our sport more resilient, our sports more resilient in the way we run it and the way we organize our infrastructure and competitions. And at the same time, we need to play our part in not contributing to further deteriorating that climate change that has been set in motion. So about being stubborn, I don't know if it's my English knowledge that makes a difference between being stubborn and being determined, but I think it is, there's certainly no person in this room that is not determined and stubborn about getting things into the right direction. That's why we all work in sustainability. Now, this can be at some times very frustrating working in this field, and we have heard before, I think Kunal was saying, well, many people who come to this place, they feel like it is a good space because we all understand each other. We all have similar challenges, no matter how big the organizations or the roles that we have, but we are facing the same type of challenges. And I think it is something that we have to be and we know to be, because sometimes we face the status quo, which is very strong. We face resistance, we face lack of support, and we're never able to just tap on the table and say, we are sustainability and this is the way it should be. I don't think that any one of us can do that, but we have to have a diplomatic approach and a gentle pushing approach in order to get things done, and that requires a lot of determination and resistance. And sometimes we're not understood, we're even criticized, and sometimes you try to do the best thing, you try to be leader, in our case, try to be leaders in this field, in the world of sports, and you do it with the best of the intentions, you try to use the best of the methodologies and techniques that exist out there and standards, and still there's someone who's criticizing you. And we had actually, I don't know if it's an elephant in the room, but we have had in the last couple of weeks a recommendation that was expressed by a commission on fair advertising in Switzerland that said that a carbon neutrality claim of a FIFA World Cup is something which is misleading because you are actually selling tickets for your World Cup with that claim, and that is a claim that is difficult to sustain. Yeah. So we might discuss about it. I think it is something that will many organizations, even in this room, will face going forward. There's a lot more scrutiny about the claims that you do, and no matter how much effort you put into applying the latest methodology and making sure that you do the right math as well in terms of your carbon emissions. We've done a very good job in terms of analyzing the carbon footprint of the World Cup, our reduction measures for 2022, and offsetting 3.8 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions related to the tournament, and that is still being criticized.
Yes. Talk about external pressure.
Yeah, that's the external, and that's why sometimes, even if you believe that you're doing a good job and you do it with the best of the intention and trying to set a benchmark also for other sports and other events, this criticism, this is linked with the visibility, is linked with a lot of scrutiny. And that's why you need to be stubborn and you need to be determined not to give up when those moments appear.
I'm going to ask for 2 more minutes from the MC who is about ready to pull us up off of stage. So Sunny and Adam, I want to ask the two of you, what are some of the levers? Given what Federico is saying, it's no different for LA 28. There's external pressures, there's internal pressures, right? So what are some of the levers that you have thought about creating that help you stick to your goals and objectives?
Yeah, and I know we only have 2 minutes, and that won't be enough to go into the details of it. So I'm happy to talk about this, after our panel. But one of the things, and Dune, you hit on it from the athlete perspective, I'll preface this, we are still very early on in our strategy development process, but we have identified what our North Star is. And we were able to do that, which is, by the way, it's a commitment to accelerate equitable access to economic empowerment, youth sports, and a healthy environment, which is our sustainability commitment. We were able to do that because last year we put a lot of focus on conducting our first materiality assessment. We engaged with over 400 different stakeholders internally and externally on this assessment to identify what is most relevant to the community and what's relevant to the operations of the games. And so doing that process, we are now in the very close stages of publishing our first policy, our impact and sustainability policy. And while it'll be high in level, it is going to be that reference point for us to continue to go back to. And to remind us why we are doing what we are doing, and if we are in tough conversations, whether they're internally or externally, to be able to show these commitments that we have, designed. It really is taking the whole perspective of our athletes, of our stakeholders, and so being able to use that as a reference point is going to be important for us moving
Amazing.
forward.
Adam, any final words on this?
Yeah, so I think just switching hats now from an athlete perspective to a venue operator standpoint, my venue will host teams for training for the World Cup, and then we'll host 5 sports for the Olympics and another 4 sports for the Paralympic Games. And I think that there is huge opportunity for the organizers of these large events to pressure the venues in a way. And I'm not trying to make more work for myself. I think we're doing a great job in this space currently. But I think once those areas are defined, there's a great opportunity for those events to bring also introductions, B2B introductions that allow us to make impactful movement towards the goals and initiatives of those games.
Amazing. Well, please, everybody, help me thank our incredible panelists. And we will do everything we can to support you on this journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you.